Welcome back to the channel. Last week I introduced to you guys the Scrap Heap Prebug Zoomer. I laid out the grand plan and I showed you some of its go fast bits that are going to go into it. This week the build begins. So this bike is a little bit different to most builds that I do on the channel, where I start with a complete unworking, unloved, broken bike and I strip it down and rebuild it. This time, this bike has already been stripped down. It's missing most of its parts. It's probably at best 30% complete. So I don't know what I don't have at this moment. So this time I'm gonna have to build it up and then pull it back down. And to do that, I've got these boxes of parts here that are full of different Prebug Zoomer parts. The idea is build it up with all these parts, work out what's missing, and then I have time to order those parts if need be. So let the build begin. Okay, first thing that we need to do is we need to make this bike a rolling frame. To do that, it needs a front wheel. So we need to build up the front forks, install the axle, the front wheel, the front brake caliper, put all the steering bearings in, the handlebars, etc. And then from there, we'll strip out the broken plastics that we've got on it, exposing the frame, and then we can build upon from there. Alright team, from here we have ourselves a rolling chassis. It is the first time in a very long time that this bike has two wheels and front suspension on it. It's not all there, but it is there. We are missing some pieces. We are missing a speedo drive, axle spacers, we're missing the steering head bearings and the bolts that tie all the steering stuff together, the racers, that kind of stuff. But at least we know what we don't have. From here I'm going to pull off the plastics and then build up the frame with the fuel tank, the oil tank, and anything else that is meant to lay beneath here. Alright team, where are we at? The bike is back together, the wiring harness is in, the handlebars are on, the forward controls are there, the speedo is in, the front wheel's on, the brakes are in, everything is pretty much there. It's actually pretty complete now. There are a few main components that we're still missing. Up here we're missing the cable guide that sits on top of the neck. We're missing a couple of bolts that go through here and there. The speedo drive's missing with the spacer for the axle. The CVT stuff is all gone, but that's okay, we're going to rebuild that anyway. But we do have a fuel tank, we do have wiring harness, the bike will turn. We don't have a stand. There's some bodgery going on with the stand. Check this out. Under here it looks like there is some welding that's gone on to fix it, and it's been a massive failure, so we're going to have to put a side stand on it. Not a problem. But the big thing is this bike was actually given to me with a blown motor. Now I can turn the motor over by hand and I can feel and hear compression. So I don't know what's going on there, Dirk. Don't know. But anyway, we're going to put the body panels on. This is going to tell me now whether or not the frame is bent, misaligned or whatever. Assuming all the body panels fit, we're in good stead. Would you have a look at this? This little Yamaha Zoomer is now back together and it is about 95% there. Of course, compared to what we started with, which was basically a bare frame, a motor, an oil tank, and 2 broken plastics, this bike has come a whole long way. But this was just proof of concept. It was just putting it back together so I know what I'm missing, so I have enough time to order and get it in time for the build to continue without any delays. And pretty lucky for me, I had most of those parts in those boxes. So for this, it's been 10 minutes back together, and we're now going to strip it all back down to a bare frame so I can send it off to get all powder coated, sandblasted, the frame, the forks, the handlebars, the fuel tanks, the wheels, get everything repainted for final reassembly. The idea of putting all the plastics on is you don't want to get the plastics painted and find out nothing fits. You have alignment issues, because if you scratch those plastics, they're quite expensive to get done. You do not want to pay for it twice. So I'm happy with the way they all sit. All the gaps are pretty nice and tidy. Let's strip it down. There you have it. That's the scooter built from bare nothing to a pretty much functionable bike, except for obviously running, and then stripped back down to its absolute underpants this time. Nothing left on it in a day. So the idea, as I said, was now I know what I need. I can go ahead and order those parts and hopefully they come on time for the build to continue. But that's pretty much it for this episode. Next time, we're going to get into the motor. We're going to pull this motor apart and hopefully build it up with all that stage 6 goodness. Like and subscribe. See you on the next one.